Look, when it comes to this stuff, I don't really care when I'm right or wrong, because the reality is I'm going to be right, I'm going to be wrong, you're going to be right, I'm going to be wrong. Like, it happens. It doesn't really matter in the end. It's like, I thought the Pistons would be a decent team. Obviously, that was an outlandish thing to say. I've obviously said some other things that were wrong, but the only times I really care when people are proven wrong is when they're just unnecessarily trashing a certain player because of what? Because you don't like his dad, because his shoe deal, because he was projected to be Magic Johnson in the eyes of, what, 3 different people who said he was going to be like Magic Johnson? If he was going to be like Magic Johnson, don't you think he would have gone number 1 instead of number 2? If he was going to be like a top 5 NBA player of all time, don't you think he would have gone number 1? No one was comparing Lonzo Ball, that's the man in question today. No one was comparing Lonzo Ball to Magic Johnson in their right minds, and these faulty expectations, or whatever you want to place on him heading into the NBA, him not living up to those expectations, which no one is going to live up to the expectations of being the next Magic Johnson. And when these expectations weren't met, when he had a couple of slow games to start this season, oh, he's a bust, he sucks, he'll never play in the NBA again after 2 years, he's going to be out of the league. He's a bust. That's what everyone said recently. I saw it. And since then, has anyone said anything about Lonzo Ball, good or bad? Because I haven't seen much said about Lonzo. I mean, recently, obviously, there was that play against the Bucks where he chose not to shoot. Oh yeah, crucify him for one play in a game where he went 6 of 10 from 3, was playing good defense, and just played overall great basketball that game, and has played great basketball for 20 consecutive games now. Crucify him for one play. That's the only thing I've really seen said about Lonzo Ball recently, not him playing absolutely fantastic basketball and getting back to his best, playing his best basketball of his career, doing everything well, shooting the 3-ball well, adjusting to a new offense, all of this stuff we're going to talk about. But boy, for people to trash him and then 20 games later, he's playing the best basketball of his career and he looks like a fantastic player, I think it's just quite poetic that that happened so quickly, and now everyone is... they've got nothing to say, because there is nothing to say. They don't want to swallow their pride. They thought Lonzo Ball was a bust because he's played 10 slow games to start the season after playing for a different head coach in a different style of basketball, coming off an injury where he didn't exactly feel 100%, despite the second half of last season, he was playing fantastic basketball, averaging around 14, 8 and 8 in the last 35 games on great efficiencies. He was helping the Pelicans win, and he led that charge of them making the play-in game. That was a lot of that had to do with Lonzo Ball. He looked like a fantastic player because they were playing with pace and they were playing to the style that he plays with. Now he was faced with a new head coach. He wasn't exactly feeling 100% fit, and he was playing a completely different role, played 10 games and he struggled. No one was denying that. But for him to be a bust because of those 10 games, well then what does it make him after 20 games of being fantastic? Anyways, we'll get into all of that. Before I do so, if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, it would be much appreciated. It really does help out how the video goes. It's free, so that's a good thing to do. But anyways, we may as well talk about the numbers, because it's all cool me saying he's been playing well, but do I have anything to back that up? Yeah, I've got some pretty good numbers. Now, I'm going to take it back to when everyone was calling him a bust, because it seems like it exploded on one certain day. I think it was after a Utah Jazz game. He came back from an injury, scored like 5 points or something on bad shooting, and everyone called him a bust. So let's take it back to January 20th when he was called a bust. Since then, in 20 games, he's averaged 15.8 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, 5.6 assists on under 2 turnovers a game, and 45, 45, 84 shooting splits, including 45.7% on nearly 8 3 attempts a game. That is up towards the tippy top of the league in 3-point shooting. That's what he's done in his last 20 games. But how has he exactly flipped the switch to such a drastic degree, and is it sustainable? Look, I don't think he's going to shoot 46% from 3 for the rest of his career or for the rest of the season, but I think he's going to hover around 38 to 42%. He's a good shooter. He gets to the right positions on the floor, and he's playing with a dominant force in Zion Williamson. It just makes for someone to shoot a high percentage, and he's doing exactly that. But I don't think Lonzo's even playing at his absolute best or being utilized to his absolute best, because the team still doesn't play at an incredibly fast pace. He's still not the primary ball handler, which I don't think is a major deal, because you've got Zion Williamson. I'm afraid he's going to be the primary ball handler going forward because he's a generational player. Lonzo is playing as that secondary, at sometimes third kind of playmaker, and that's not his strength, but at the moment he's making it work, so that's good to see. But the offense isn't moving particularly fast. Like I mentioned last year, he was fantastic playing in a fast-paced offense. That's what he did in college. He's made the most of the opportunities more recently. Getting out in transition, he's now been more assertive. He's deciding to make that pass straight away. He's deciding to attack the rim, do all of these things that maybe to start the season he wasn't doing as frequently. Maybe to start the season he didn't have the ball in his hands on those occasions as frequently. So now recently he's been doing that more. Despite not getting a ton of extra opportunities, he's making the most of those opportunities in transition. But outside of transition play, he's doing a lot of things well. We can talk about his relationship with Zion Williamson because it's a fantastic duo they have there. I know, who would have thought that having a point guard that can recognize subtle movements, that can get it into a player posting up, that makes great entry passes, a great playmaker, who would have thought pairing him with Zion Williamson and actually letting them run plays together would help the team's offense? Who would have thought that someone that can relocate to the right spots when Zion's getting double teamed and spot up and shoot at a really high percentage would help the team? That's what Lonzo Ball's doing. Maybe he's someone that actually has a high IQ, because you see these players, Brandon Ingram, Eric Bledsoe, they'll get the ball and they'll take 2 to 3 seconds to get it into a mismatch, whether it's Zion, whether it's Brandon Ingram, Steven Adams, it doesn't matter. Lonzo Ball puts it on a plate to those players. It's not about him finding the perfect pass, it's about him consistently making the right pass. That's what I find with Lonzo is so good. He consistently makes the right play. Some people were expecting him to come out of college and to be making no-look dimes, running in transition, throwing alley-oops, which we've seen him do. Obviously, he's capable of doing that. But the majority of the game, you're not going to be able to just do that. That's the reality. Most of the game, he just makes the right plays. He'll just relocate to a spot and shoot a 3-ball. He'll just make great entry passes. He'll do a lot of things really well. That just sums up his game offensively. Defensively, we're going to talk about that in a bit. But offensively, that's what he's been doing really well. Now, I actually thought he was attacking the rim better this season, but statistically, it's been worse. Maybe it's because in the half court, he's attacking more aggressively and he's not getting as many transition opportunities attacking the rim, or maybe my eyes are deceiving me. He seems like he's aggressive attacking the rim, but he hasn't been that aggressive. Although for him to still be attacking the rim is promising. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be a good finisher at the rim. That was a thing in college. That's a thing in the NBA. If he can consistently get a bit better, like he's got at every aspect of his game, then that would be promising. But when you've got Zion, when you've got Brandon Ingram, does it really matter if you can attack the rim that well? I don't think it does. I think what matters more is the fact that he can relocate and spot up and shoot to a very high percentage, one of the highest percentages in the league, particularly over these last 20 games, and that's where his strengths lies, and that's why he's been so good. Just with Lonzo, I kind of touched on it before, but he's just such a high IQ guy on both ends of the floor. He consistently makes the right plays. He could be averaging 10 assists a game. That's what some people expected of him, and that's why some people might be underwhelmed with his numbers because the assists don't jump out at the page. But the thing is with Lonzo, he doesn't care if he averages 12 assists or 3 assists. He just seems to be confident and happy making the right plays consistently. Whether that means D'ing up all game and being the 3rd option on offense or the 4th option at times and just playing hard defense and doing what he can when he gets the opportunity, he'll do that. It doesn't bother him, and that's what he does offensively. Like I mentioned, he makes the right reads consistently, getting it into Zion, getting it into Brandon Ingram. He's getting a little pick and roll game with Zion, which I've seen. I want to see more of that, because who would have thought having someone that can pass the ball would be good in a pick and roll game now that he's got an improved mid-range shot and 3-point shot. I'd really like to see him running more pick and rolls, but he has done that and he's been effective at doing that. Just overall, he makes the right plays offensively. What else can I really say? He's shooting the ball at an unbelievable rate. He's making more plays in the half court than he was before. And I haven't even talked about his defense. One of the best guard defenders in the NBA. He can guard positions 1 through 3. He chases players over screens. He gets in the passing lanes. He consistently makes the right rotations. I know the Pelicans defense is absolutely garbage, and that sometimes reflects in his opponent getting a lot of points because he'll rotate and then all of a sudden that teammate is getting cooked, etc. Just know he's a very good defender. He's definitely a two-way player. There's no questions about that. If you want to question that, Basketball Index has a measurement which gauges the difficulty of defensive assignments, and Lonzo was ranked number 1 in the NBA. Number 1 for defensive assignments going against the toughest opponent on a night-in, night-in basis. That's how good he is, or at least that's how much the coach trusts of him. That's how consistently he puts in efforts. He just makes the right plays. I mean, we saw it against the Pacers. He made a rotation and went vertical against Miles Turner and stopped a game-winning or a game-tying shot. Those are the kind of plays he makes consistently, and that's what he does offensively and defensively. He's a great defender, and he's only getting better. I could see him being an all-defensive player multiple times throughout his career if he continues on this trajectory, and if the team can actually step up around him, because sometimes he doesn't look as good of a defender because no one else on the team can defend or does defend. So it's kind of just him chasing around screens and chasing around one player while everyone's just standing there doing nothing. That's kind of Lonzo defensively, but he's doing his best and he's doing a good job of it. Now, I think what we're seeing from Lonzo over the last 20 games is far closer to what we should expect going forward. He's a good shooter, unbelievable playmaker in transition, and an improving one in the half court. Defensively, he's one of the best defenders at the guard position in the league and consistently takes on tough assignments and does a good job of it. There's just not much else to say about Lonzo Ball apart from he's just proved a lot of people wrong. He's come into a new system, playing under a new head coach, a new role where he's asked to be a spot-up shooter more than he has ever been before, and it took him a couple of games to adjust to it. That was quick enough for people to say he sucks, he's a terrible NBA player, he should be traded, etc., etc. Now all of a sudden, he's really thriving, and I think he's a legitimate third option going forward. A great playmaker. If the team plays at a fast pace, then all of a sudden his assists will probably go through the roof and he'll play even better than now. But at this rate, with the team that New Orleans have assembled, I think he's a legitimate third option on a really good team. I know you could say he's a third option right now and the Pelicans suck. Yeah, there's a lot of issues about the Pelicans. Stan Van Gundy, defense. That's probably all the issues right there encapsulated. And the fact that they don't have the best personnel. I mean, he's playing alongside Eric Bledsoe. How long did it take you to realize, let's not play him alongside Eric Bledsoe all the time because Eric Bledsoe's not actually very good. So now Lonzo's all of a sudden kind of more of that lead guard. I still would like to see him take the ball up every single time Zion or Brandon Ingram doesn't take the ball up. It should be Lonzo. It should never be Eric Bledsoe. That's an ideal world that we're probably not going to see until he gets traded. But once that happens, he's definitely the third option and he does a really good job of it. And a lot of reasons to extend him, which I hope they do, because him and Zion is just a fit made in heaven. There's just not a better pairing that you could have for Zion or for Lonzo. So just keep them together, please. Please, can you do it? Thank you. Okay, that's all I've got to say. Other than that, have a good day. Catch you next time. Like the video, subscribe, bye.